Good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. This is your first time. I appreciate it. And if you like the content at the end, go ahead and do what you do on YouTube to help share this and get this page out there. I'd appreciate it. All right. So uh, we have some company webinars that we kind of put on for continuous education, and one's called Back to the Basics that I do on Saturday. And in there, I'm kind of doing this game, right? I call it the game. And as we start kind of working through this or wanting to become traders or anything in life, right? This could happen on many different levels. But one thing that I've started to believe is there's a truth, right? And it's actually comes down to our own personal truth. I know out there we can say, well, there is truth, there is right or wrong, but I think there's right or wrong on different levels, right? And everybody probably watching this or most watching this, I don't want to make assumptions, knows that 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? Because we've went through it, we've seen it, it's a common belief, so everybody trusts it. But that's because you've went through school and they've been taught, or you've been taught that, and your mind has expanded to that. If you go ask a child what 1 plus 1 is, they might say 4 or apple or something crazy, and that's their truth, right? So are they right or are they wrong, or is it just a perspective to them? And us, we'd say, hey, that's not right, it's 2, it's not 4, it's not apple, it's 2. So and I think for the kid at that point, they think it's an apple, or they think it's 2 or blue or red or whatever they say after you ask them the question. And so that's just kind of where their truth is, right? But in trading, you have to. I was talking about these steps, and I kind of want to go through this really quick, and hopefully this video doesn't get too long. But I believe there's kind of 4 steps in becoming or believing or building your truth that will help you become a trader. Now, the very first thing, the number one thing, you have to see something, right? So we go back to this other example where we see 1 plus 1 equals 2. We saw that. Somebody told us that. Somebody that we respected and believed, maybe our first grade teacher, maybe our siblings, maybe our parents before we got into school, they had flashcards made up. It was on a flashcard, so it has to be true, right? And so at the very first, you have to kind of see something. And so a lot of people that are on here have already seen something in trading. They saw somebody win a trade. They've heard about people making money in trading and investing. And so that's kind of the first step of getting to that truth. Or, you have to have somebody else's or somebody else tell you that you trust, or you see something that kind of starts to make you believe it. So that'd be step number 1. Step number 2, when you get into this, and for us, we call this replay, right? Or back testing. Number 2, you have to start seeing it enough times, right? And start getting some examples to show you that it's true. So if I had to come down and say, I might have showed you a trade that when red is on top and it's pointing down and the price is below and they're both pointing down, they're close to the pressure, and the inclination has changed from the previous candle, and all sorts of things that I might talk about why a trade might go in its direction. And so you kind of write that rules down, and you go back, or you're watching the market, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's what that individual is talking about right here. Oh, there it was right there, and it did go down. And so, you start kind of looking at it, and you might take a trade, or you might be back testing, and you go down, and you're like, wow, that could have worked. That might have hit my take profit, right? And so you have to start seeing it, right? You have to go back, and you either see it happen in the live market, you take it, you start getting some experiences in it, start winning some trades, or some things that you were told starts happening, and you might have a coach and they're taking you back and showing you setups. See, look, it does work. And that's the next part. But this part here is you get to see enough examples of it in historical data for trading, some in live, but you can gain way more in historical a lot faster. So then you got to see it. You got to start collecting some data to kind of start building this truth, right? And that might be the second level. It's starting to build. You actually go back. We talk about going back and getting enough trades. The law of large numbers. You get this large trade or these large samples of this trade that you want to do. And if the math works out, it's like, man, if I traded it, this could create some income. So that's the second part. You got to go back and start, we just say back testing and replay and get a big enough samples of your trades to see that the math actually works in historical data. Then I used to just go right to, well, I would used to say number 3, but now I'm pushing it down to number 4, which would be go now and execute that in the live market. And I just believe there was this gap that was happening, right? And a lot of students were just, they could back test and see that it worked, but then they'd get in the live market and they just didn't have that belief enough in them. So this is where I come up with step number 3, which is the game. Okay. And the game is still kind of using the replay and live. It's starting to kind of combine these both, where you kind of went to replay in step number 2 to collect the data. Now this is using replay and in live, right? And you're really kind of calling your shot. So I like to get up, 7 o'clock. I like to trade it multiple times, but I've been playing around with the Dow a little bit. This is Thursday. Let's go to today's example here. And we could do that example as well. Looking at that, I think there might be a good opportunity for the buy to continue. Let's play this one out, right? So I think, and I want you to start at a certain time. Before I was kind of doing a certain plan, very small plan, very small rules on a 1-minute chart, which was going to get you into the market as soon as possible. But there were still some times where it might take 2 or 3 candles. At 2 or 3 candles, things are happening, things are moving. I want you to pick a time and say, I'm going to trade at this time, right? So let's just say 7 o'clock. I want you to pick a currency pair. You can pick a size of chart and then just one of the indicators that we use. We have multiple indicators, but I'm using the pressure. You could use the majors or the thin orange. But I want to keep it still simple, right? And so we get on here and it's like, okay, I think this is going to buy. All right, so we think it's going to buy, right? We have this awesome trade simulator over here. Okay. I think it's going to buy. We still want to kind of use a very simple, we want to keep things as simple as possible. So I'm going to use the ATR as a very easy way to talk about your take profit and stop loss, or using your take profit and stop loss. So 56, I'm just going to times that by 2. I've said this on other videos. The reason why I times 56 by 2, or the ATR that you're using on your smallest chart by 2, it seems to push you out past a couple levels of protection. I'm not going to dig into that too much. That could be a whole hour conversation about levels. But it usually, when you put the stop loss, I'm pretty sure the stop loss is going to come down below this area down here somewhere. We like to use our pressure line as a level. And then if you've dabbled in the market a little bit, you know that there's a level down here. It kind of came down and bounced. There's another level down here and maybe even another one down here. And then we're just going to go for that. So 112 as well. This creates a 1-to-1. We're going to hit buy. So again, yep, put that stop loss down right there. Good. And if it goes down below there, there's probably a pretty good chance it might catch that momentum and continue going. So, if you just put it farther, it might want to go down there and hit it more. So managing your risk and getting comfortable where to put it, and understanding that stop losses are awesome. You have to understand that losing is a part of trading, and stop losses turns this into a calculated risk game instead of a total risk game, right? When I started trading, a lot of people say, well, isn't that risky? Aren't you going to lose all of your money? Right? It's like, well, you could if you didn't follow proper steps, but if you put a stop loss, you are actually in control of your risk. You get to pick how much you lose per trade. So we love stop losses. And don't be upset if you hit a stop loss. That's part of trading. So once we kind of do that, we are on here. We're kind of calling our shot. We think this is going to go up. Why? You need to make sure you journal this, okay? You have to journal this. And what are some of the reasons that I like? Number 1, I like that it's close to the pressure. I like that it's a green candle. I like that the momentum, and when I talk about momentum, there's kind of a level here, or your lows for a buy are getting higher, right? So we kind of still have that up. I know we have a little bit of a hiccup in here, right there, with a little bit of breath, but realistically, there's a low right here, there's a low right there, low here, low there, kind of these low points, and they're going up, right? So that's the momentum. The inclination increased to the buy side. So we had that, maybe that inclination increasing to the buy side. So I would jot those down on a sheet, right? And then I get to click forward and see if it hits my take profit or my stop loss. So perfect, right? And if it would have went down and hit the stop loss, that would have been okay as well. So let's go today's trade. Here, 7 o'clock. We'll kind of go through this process really quick. All right, so, oh, and the other one, the price was above. I like taking buy trades, most of my buy trades when the price is above the pressure lines. Now here, some might say this looks pretty similar to the other one. The red was on top. They were pointing up, the inclination. The price isn't, it's kind of pushed away from the pressure now. It's not touching the pressure. It is a green candle. The price is above. But there's some things that are happening here. Oh, and we could say, well, that momentum is still going up, right? There's one huge thing that's kind of happening here, and this is what I start calling exhaustion, right? So I love the colors on top. Green pressure popped on top way back here, right? We could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8-ish, 9-ish candles where green was on top. And then red kind of got on top this situation right around here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So we have 21 candles with red on top. Red's been on top for a while. And with it being pushed away from the pressure, again, there's some other things I'd love to see more about this, but I feel like this would has a better chance, a higher probability to come down than continue up. Okay. Now, do I think there's a chance for this to go up? Yes. But if we're playing at a 1-to-1, you start playing this game, it's not absolute. It's like this is going to sell or this is going to buy. There's not this absolute that happens, right? That's hard. That's a hard grasp or a hard concept for new students to grasp, is the concept that this is probabilities, meaning that even if you take a great trade, there's a chance for it to lose and not a chance for it to win. Okay. So we play probabilities, and in a 1-to-1, this, right, where I'm seeing all these variables happening, has to have a 55+% chance to hit the stop loss for me to want to take it, or for my mind to say, I think there's a 55+% chance that it has a greater opportunity to hit the stop loss or go down than hit the take profit and go up. Okay. And that's probabilities. It also means that 45% of the time it could actually go up and do what I didn't think it was going to do, and I have to be able to live with that and understand that emotion, which is very difficult to do. Right? So it's taking a little bit longer than I want, but hopefully this is good content and it's helping you out a little bit. So I think this is going to go down. So now the 65, I'm going to times that by 2. And I'm going to put this on to 130 here. And then I'm going to put this to 130 as well. Okay. I'm going to hit my sell trade. Right. Now, why? So we're going to take this. We just hit Control-C. That copies this. A lot of journaling, right? I'm big on journaling. But today, right here, paste. I think it's going to sell. And then why? All right. And the biggest reasons why I really think this is going to sell, because it's going against a lot of the things why I thought the last trade was going to win, is because of the exhaustion and how long it's been pushing up. All right. So I'd say exhaustion. Red on top for a long time. I like to kind of just shorthand this stuff, right? You can do whatever you want. It's your journaling page. Rage on top for a short time. It's pushed away from the pressure. Now, is pushed away from the pressure means that it can't go up? No, this is almost like this. It's almost like a building block, right? It's exhausted. Red's been on top for a long period of time, and it's pushed away from the pressure. I take trades when prices are pushed away from the pressure, but when you start adding all these things up, it's probably going to start happening that there's a greater chance for this to continue or not to continue to go up most of the time. or enough of the time would probably be the better way to say that. So now with all those things, I know that there's, like in my mind, I'm saying there's a greater probability or a greater possibility for it to come down here. And it only has to do that 55 out of 100 times to make money at a 1-to-1, right? So here we go. Okay. Now, when we're doing this, this comes down here. Now I kind of like this because it's diverging. That's going to help maybe pull it down. But there's a great chance if this bounces and breaks up, it's going to be the 45% that it loses, right? So let's see if that momentum starts to help in ours. Beautiful. Won the trade. Awesome. Okay. And then really quick on the last, we're pushing past the 15-minute mark here. The last step, and I'll continue to kind of go through these steps. The last step is then trading. This is kind of the gap in between. This is step number 3. It's the game. You're doing this in live. So when you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're going to call your trade. You're going to call the shot. You're going to journal it. And then when we go back, we're going to continue to start replaying as well and keep calling this and seeing and collecting this data to really start, you go back and back testing. You're just kind of running through the plan, right? You're just running through the plan, trying to see something enough to believe it. But this game, what this does is you're now trying to call the shots. And as you call the shots and you start calling them correctly, let's go back and mark this, right? So was it a sell like I thought it was? Yes or no? This one was yes. Paste. Now, that was going to be red, fine. What I'd continue to do, or if it went down and actually hit the stop loss, what I'd continue to do is say, hey, I have a strong belief that when it's exhausted, red on top for a long period of time and pushed away, I think it goes down. I'm going to have to collect a lot of these to give me that belief, whether I'm right or wrong. Still the same thing in number 2. So you could go back and start looking at these and say, well, I want to go back and see this one. This one won, so your confidence is going to be through the roof. You're like, I'm right. But if it would have lost, it's like, okay, well, that could have been the 45 out of the 55. So let me go back and start getting 100 of these trades and saying, okay, does it go down 55% of the time like I thought? Or does it? And if it doesn't, then we start getting a large enough number to say, hey, well, maybe I wasn't correct. Maybe I saw it a few times, but the more I see it, it actually isn't that. And then we can change our thought belief, right? And then the last one, you have to get in live and you have to trade it, right? You have to follow the rules that you believe in, okay? That you write down and you've been journaling. You're like, hey, when this, and this happens, it does have a greater time to do what I think it's going to do. When this and this and this happens, it has a greater time to do what I was going to do, think it was going to do. And that's how you can kind of create this fluent trade plan. And then you have to go through it. So how much time you went back and collected the data to start believing in this plan, how much time you've done the game in the replay. You have to actually execution. You have to do what you have been doing and practicing in the live market enough to really start to get that true belief. All right, we will continue on this. And if you want more information, if you're new, right, if you just found this channel, shoot me an email. Hit me up in the comments. Sorry, not an email. Just shoot me up in the comments and I'll respond to it and I'll give you some more information about our company. And then if you're already with us, a lot of my traders are on here, or a lot of our company members are on here, and you want to know more about the game, join me on Saturday at Back to the Basics, and we'll keep going this. Thank you so much. I appreciate every one of you. You all help me and let me do one of my passions, which is teaching individuals how to trade. I love coaching. So thank you for watching this. Thank you for sticking with me for the 18, almost 19 minutes, a little bit long today. But that was something we talked about, and I kind of made some tweaks, so I wanted to get it out here on the YouTube universe. But again, I appreciate every one of you so much. Thank you again. And if you enjoyed this, do what you got to do on YouTube to help spread it out. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.